Morning, guys. I haven't done a video for quite some time. And if I'm honest, there's a couple of reasons. So, the first major reason is there hasn't really been a lot to say that hasn't already been said. I mean, some of these moves were called back last August in terms of the move up and kind of coming back down to the value area range. And therefore, as a professional trader, yeah, sometimes things get a little bit boring, but I think after the COVID value area spikes on most of the instruments, we're just in this kind of peculiar, kind of uncanny type cycle almost across the board. Okay. So, whereas often you'll find different opportunities, larger scale, and I'm talking about opportunities for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and beyond, in terms of the type of trading style that I trade in terms of where we are since March 2020, we've kind of got to the same zero to ones. We've gone from the one to twos, and we've been very comparable, whether it's a couple of days, a week or two at best. And therefore, there's not really opportunities in other instruments. You might as well just focus on the one in terms of getting the higher probability trades. Okay. So for me personally, I've taken some time out. I've just bought a new house. I'm currently renovating that. So I'm spending a bit of time just kind of away from the charts in general, kind of keeping an eye on what's doing what. But in all honesty, the main reason that I haven't uploaded videos is that there's nothing really to say, and therefore I'm not going to waste the time making them if there's nothing really changed, in my opinion. So, in terms of where we are, let's just kind of look at this and go back a little bit, right? Now, just to highlight exactly what I've just said, I'm going to cover, first of all, the first part of this. And I'm going to go back to one of the updates I did back in February. Okay, so this update is one from the second update, I think, was around maybe November last year. The first initial chart was in March 2021. Okay, so, over a full year now in terms of where we are. And this roadmap is still playing itself out. Okay, so I'd explained where we were and why we were likely to do what we were doing. This goes back March last year. You can see from the chart, it's becoming very, very respectful, right? Now, a couple of these levels you'll see, this goes into the September the 30th, you'll see this one. So September the 30th, 2021, you'll actually understand why I've put this cluster together and what this cluster kind of represents. And I'll come into this in a second on the actual charts. But the idea of these moves and becoming institutionalized, becoming professional as a professional instrument or professional tool, then ultimately you expect these to be a bit more respectful as they mature. Okay, now what I'm seeing from this is that the COT data is still showing the shorts on the leverage fund. So the story is pretty much mapped out kind of already for this, right? We're not ready to go to 100K just yet. There's a couple of little moves inside this that I want to show kind of where we are. Okay. Now you go back December 28th, 2021. You see this blue circle that I was highlighting in terms of the distribution pattern. You actually see what's played itself out. Okay. So you can see the move from the blue to the lighter blue. This was the move up we saw with the truncated 5. Okay. Now, this was highlighted back in August, as we've said here. Move down 3, 4, truncated 5. And you'll actually see, if I zoom in on this, you'll actually see we're likely to go just a little bit above 65. And then we're going to see 40K again very quick. Okay. You can see the date there on the left-hand side, 24th of August, 21. Okay. So for me, there's nothing really changed. Okay, now I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record, longer term, big picture for this, but ultimately you need to understand and to kind of visualize where we are for these kinds of moves. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump across into the charts, right? So that before I do, keep these two pictures in mind, right? You've got the cluster, which is this one here. You see these orange levels and the little gray lines, and the Wyckoff schematic. Okay, so coming into the chart, I'm going to put on what we had first of all. So the first one was the where were we to? This was the daily Wyckoff schematic. Okay, so you'll see the two levels and obviously tagged down there, right? So for me, the Wyckoff schematic played itself out all the way back from last year, right? So again, you can understand why I'm saying nothing really has changed. Okay, the interesting group is the cluster levels. You'll see how respectful these levels are becoming. We come in, we touched, we fell down, we come back up, we faked out and dropped straight down, immediately back to a very, very big cluster, which is what the orange levels are. We then failed to go back up through the minor and then straight back down, targeting this low of the last cluster. Now, ultimately, there's liquidity sitting there, right? And I've talked about this in one of my more recent posts, right? So this was March the 13th this year. And what I've actually talked about in this post was understanding where the money flow sits and where the liquidity is likely to be grabbed. Okay, so we're in this position here. If we were going up, we were likely to tag into where the money is sitting and then drop on back down to ultimately where the newfound liquidity is sitting. And surprise, surprise, we've done exactly that. Okay, so for me personally, I can see this as an instrument becoming more and more professionalized, more and more institutionalized, and therefore becoming a lot easier in terms of understanding the trade setups and the structures for this. Okay, so this isn't a video just going, hey, look at what I can do. This is just to highlight why, one, well, I suppose why I haven't made these videos, and two, the fact that the instrument is becoming professional. Okay, so that's probably the biggest message I can give you guys in this particular video, is that the instrument is becoming professional and therefore a lot easier to read and understand. Okay, so I'm going to flick through a couple of these that I've put into some groups. We've got the value area ranges. Okay, now you'll see these again. If you're a subscriber in Discord, you would have seen these back last year, back November time, when myself and Paul were putting these out, and Paul using the MPs for this. You'll actually see these levels being very respected. And on the smaller time frame, I got a couple of others that were sitting in there, a little bit more colorful than this particular chart. We've had GAN levels. I know there's a couple of you guys following GAN within the group. So again, you can see, you can see that yeah, I suppose it's just trying its best now to sucker the last bunch of retail in while selling off in terms of the leverage fund, right? So still profit to be made in terms of the leverage fund or leverage funds as a whole. And therefore, we're likely to see the double bottom that I mentioned again a couple of months back for our subscribers. We're likely to see this as the kind of final piece of the A. What I would anticipate for a B is B to be very impulsive. And the reason for this, the logic for this, is to actually, again, sucker in retail at the same time, give an opportunity to sell at the kind of premium price back to retail for the leverage funds to take the last piece of their profit and then ultimately accumulate under the value area and use that then to drive this price on up. Okay, so retail will be seeing these kinds of moves and think, well, I'm not going to buy in the red. I'm going to wait for confirmation. Confirmation will become so aggressive in terms of the B that these guys, retail will be buying at a much higher premium. That will allow leverage funds to sell off their current holdings at a premium, making more profits, and then ultimately dropping it down for a C back into that liquidity pool, where ultimately they will then be going spring and go. And at that point, it's again, profits for the long run. So I'd expect that then to give us the monthly 5 move as a whole. Okay, so again, I'm just going to re-emphasize nothing's really changed since my last couple of streams, even going back a couple of weeks, couple of months. Some of these posts, some of these items that you'll see on here. I mean, this one, pullback levels, the 28th, or was this the 28th of, I believe it was August. Yeah, 28th of August. Um, you'll actually see, we've done nothing different to what we were expecting back in August. Okay, so this is why there's nothing exciting at the moment, nothing really happening in terms of the picture for Bitcoin right now. And as I said earlier, for across the board with other instruments, Aussie dollars doing this. I think DXY is kind of playing a bit more of a game, but when you look at the euro dollar, it's kind of doing no different. So ultimately, I just feel that we're still in this 3 to 4 move. We might be in a 4 to 5 in some other instruments, but it's slow and painful, and that's the whole point of this game. What else have we got? We've got the Wyckoff, the daily point and figure. So this goes back again, back into November. This was actually the target zone for that. I've actually posted this, like I said, in the group back in November. We've come into the zone for you guys, our subscribers. You would have seen this. Just emphasizing that the liquidity is sitting where the liquidity is sitting, and once you start to understand that, it's just an awful lot easier to trade down and up if you want to take the shorter time frame trades. I've said from day one, since starting to make my trades public, that for me personally, I'm only going to be a buyer of Bitcoin. I'm not looking to profit on a short term selling, although there's a massive move I could have taken here. Last year's move on the rocket call I could have taken there. For me, it was just an exit strategy and out. I'm a spot buyer. I have been since 2011, and therefore I'm happy just taking the one side of the trade. But I'm not looking for moon calls. All I'm looking for is a high probability, low risk type trade that I can scale in multiple times and enjoy then a nice little lifestyle outside of being on the charts 24/7. Options for the weekly. So again, I know I've done this in probably my last but one stream. I'd mentioned potentially the move up for a B. I don't think we've actually had that. You can see I got the question mark. I know that's an ugly question mark. It's probably on the daily chart. You can see that I got a question mark there for the A. I still feel that the A is not. I don't think this was impulsive enough for a B, and therefore I'm still seeing this as the first move, the second move, the third move, potentially the fourth move. And now ultimately, I'd like to see just a double bottom, maybe a slightly lower liquidity grabber into around 32, 34K ideally. We might go a little bit lower in terms of fear and retail sell-off, but that's kind of all I'm seeing at the moment. Um, Larger support and resistance. Yeah, we've literally come, as I've put with the money sitting. It's the same kind of thing. It's the support, the resistance, the levels are there. There's a lot of liquidity sitting in and around this, which is why I said we could go a little bit lower. There's your 30, where's your 32? Your 32, just practically on top of that there. So I think we're going to more likely come into the green before going up for the B. And again, just thinking of the story, Composite Man is going to take the profit, sell it at a premium because retail will want to buy with confirmation. And at that confirmation, they are buying green candles rather than red candles. And at that particular point, Composite Man is able to sell at the premium, get a much better position quicker because there's more buyers confirmed. And at that point, then the C becomes a lot faster and aggressive in terms of the move down, that indicating a Wyckoff spring, and then that allows us then to go with the retail selling off into institutional buyers at massive bulk. And that's ultimately what I'm looking for right now. So I do feel we've started this cycle in terms of the Wyckoff schematic. And I just feel that I want that B to look like the impulsive move there. I might even, I think, given this is a monthly rather than a weekly, I might actually take a little dabble on the B. And therefore, if B was to go up higher, or I'm completely wrong, and B's already in, and this is the C going up then for the new 5, then I've actually got some kind of position, and I can pick and choose whether or not then I scale in or not from that, or whether you just take a little bit out and kind of go again later should we drop again. But I think overall, I think for me, nothing's really changed, like I said, in November, unless I'm completely, completely wrong about all of this, then I still feel that we currently sat in an A. The story matches, the COT is backing it up. The Wyckoff schematics there, you've seen from the point and figure, you've seen the schematics that we were talking about back last year. When was that? That was back in October last year. It's just becoming more professional. It's actually becoming I know I'm not going to say it's fun because it's quite boring at the moment, but it's actually intriguing to watch an instrument play out like this and become professional in front of your face. This is brilliant. Okay, so I think in terms of where we are right now, um, dropping down where I got a 3 day, so I'm going to put the 3 day in. I think in terms of the 3 day schematic, I'd actually mentioned this a while back as being the option 3-4-5 giving us the A. I'd like to see an aggressive B being quite impulsive back. We might get it be a little bit higher. We might get the first sign of strength there as the B. Then I think down for a C into the liquidity pocket, and then ultimately up and off we go. So I think right now it's kind of playing itself out, as you'd expect really. So I'll do another stream should anything happen and anything of interest. But right now, nothing really. I just thought it was worthwhile giving you guys an update and going from there. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next stream.